The icon of American transportation, the automobile. Hi, I'm Palmer Turner, and we're going to see how the automobile in America has changed what America is and how she operates. All new capabilities in manufacturing, employment, infrastructure across the nation and the world, stricter pollution controls, they've all rebuilt America from the pavement up.
As the 21st century races in, continued changes in the American automobile industry are being made to provide a better life for people. The automobile has resulted in a transformed face of American politics in its cities and how people are employed, pollution controls, national infrastructure, and dramatically altered manufacturing capabilities. On December 1, 1913, Henry Ford installed the first moving assembly line for the mass production of entire automobiles. His innovation reduced the time it took to build a car from more than 12 hours to just 2.5. His Model T of 1908 was a sturdy yet simple vehicle, but he wanted it made cheaper. He was determined to build, as he put it, motor cars for the great multitude. When I'm through, about everyone will have one. The way to do this was simply build them more efficiently. The single most significant piece of Ford's crusade of efficiency was the assembly line. The continuous flow production network used by flour mills, breweries, canneries, and even the disassembly of animal carcasses in the meat-packing plants of Chicago inspired Ford. He installed moving lines for bits and pieces of the process, like motors and transmissions on ropes and pulley belts. But in December of 1913, he unveiled his masterpiece, the moving assembly line. Screaming along at a whopping 6 feet per minute, his mechanized belts became faster and produced more and more cars, until June 4, 1924, when the 10 millionth Model T rolled out of its factory. The T didn't last much longer, though. Customers wanted inexpensive cars and the bells and whistles other companies were adding. But this was the car that ushered in the era of the automobile for everyone. But how cars are built are not the only thing changed by Henry Ford. In his quest to get as many as possible into the hands of the public, Ford decided to run his factory 24 hours a day. In the process, he created the 8-hour work shift, running 3 shifts a day. This had the very positive effect of creating several thousand jobs. To alleviate the problem of high turnover, he assigned people to a single car until it was complete. He felt this would give them a vested interest in what they were producing after doing the same thing day after day. To further help his employees, he raised his minimum wage to $5 a day, from the average $1.50 most people made everywhere else. But it's only a matter of time when money is involved. Politically backed unions arrived. On one hand, they helped to guarantee worker safety, but eventually sent the money to big union reps as opposed to shareholders and employees. Obviously, this didn't only happen at the Ford Motor Company, and by the time 1950 rolled around, Detroit had become the single wealthiest city on the planet, thanks to Ford, Chrysler, and GM. This only brought in more and more jobs and more money, but as the years went by, politics took their toll. After changes in political parties that stayed for several decades, Detroit has since gone into bankruptcy in 2013, and according to Forbes, it was due to almost $20 billion of debt, making it the largest filing in U.S. history. Although it is out of bankruptcy now, all of the big 3 car companies have faced similar problems, most recently requiring government bailouts, giving money to the unions and causing massive job losses. This same thing was considered unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court when dealing with steel companies years earlier. But in all that, we now have the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, making us all safer with anti-lock brakes, all-wheel drive, 3-point safety harnesses and airbags, and many more features in today's cars. And with a membership of over 127,000, the Society of Automotive Engineers was created to generate standards for fasteners, horsepower measurements, and motor oils, all made possible by its founders, including Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Orville Wright.
With the advent of the motor car, all new infrastructure became necessary, including roads, bridges, even parking garages in cities. It's the basic framework, the underlying foundation of public works that our nation operates on. And with horses becoming few and far between, new highways for high-speed vehicles became necessary.
Sweeping along the deep byway, singing a song to the rhythm of the road. Life is a mayday, oh, it's a heyday when you're speeding along to the rhythm of the road.
America's early highways were only dirt roads, then laid only as concrete slabs in the 30s and 40s, which worked well for a while. They were relatively inexpensive and didn't take too long to build, not to mention the fact that they brought in jobs to a local area. As the cars got better, so did the equipment to build the roads, but heavier traffic meant the concrete would crack and wear out faster. New building methods needed to be found. In what was to be called the greatest public works project in history, President Eisenhower signed into law the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956. This allocated $75 million to build a public and defense roadway system across America. Today, with almost 50,000 interstate miles, its estimated cost in 2015 was over $500 billion. Roads and bridges are vital to the country. The ability to freely move goods and services as well as people across our nation directly contribute to our economic standing in the world. But according to Deborah Miller, the former Secretary of State for Kansas, it is more expensive to maintain our bridges now than it was to build them in the first place. Our average bridge age is 75 years old. Most were built as 50-year bridges. And when the majority of people live in urban areas, time is money. Money is lost trying to get goods to customers. Even with good highways, bad bridges can bring economic development to a halt. Maintenance can extend the life of a bridge. Lack of it will shorten the life. It's important to have a plan to keep up with infrastructure maintenance, have the money to back it up, and be able to produce measurable results. According to the National Association of Manufacturers, without major improvements to our transportation systems, the United States will lose more than 2.5 million jobs by 2025. Our new president-elect's plan is aimed at $8 billion in tax credits to support $226 billion in infrastructure investment over 10 years. Whatever your political leanings, let's hope this succeeds. The Clean Air Act of 1977 set limits as to the amount of pollutants that could be emitted from an automobile. The answer to this was the addition of various pollution control devices and self-adjusting engines by 1981. Soon, all vehicles were equipped with valves to recirculate exhaust gases, crankcase ventilation systems to reburn gases that would have otherwise escaped into the air, catalytic converters that burn off fuel that escapes through the exhaust system, and evaporative controls to catch gas fumes and trap them in charcoal. But this was only the beginning. Today, the big three are aiming for zero-emission vehicles. This includes battery electric cars, plug-in hybrid electric cars, and hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles first introduced in the 80s. There's no question that hydrocarbons and other pollutants are damaging our planet, but with the advent of lithium-ion and other batteries, these may soon become a thing of the past.
Emissions control standards, new innovations in battery technology, superhighways connected by crumbling bridges. You can punch your time card and be protected by politically backed safety regulations during your 8-hour workday. Also, you can see the cars you build and drive roll off the assembly line. America has changed a lot since the invention of the horseless carriage, but let's not take for granted what we have. So the next time you find yourself sitting in an American icon like this 1942 Dodge, whose construction ceased after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, or this 1971 Plymouth Fury that came into existence right at the tail end of the muscle car era, or everybody's favorite car, the Batmobile, remember what others have done for us so we can do more for our children. I'm Paul Turner. Thanks for watching, and happy driving.